Mana enveloped Franz and Elisia. Elisia shuddered at the sensation of mana, which she felt for the first time. Contrary to her expectations, Franz's mana was not cold. But it was warm. It carried a refreshing coolness, like the breeze of a summer night, quite pleasant. It seemed she had felt this before. When was that? She unconsciously traced her memory. When was that? Had anyone saved her with mana like this before? Liz. A desperate voice reached Elisia's ears as she fumbled through the fragments of memories. This voice was also familiar, a desperate voice she had heard before. This time, she easily remembered when she had heard it. When she was killed by an assassin. It was Franz's voice as he hugged her and wept. But she had already been dead then. So how? Elisia frowned. She tried to narrow her eyes to focus her vision. The room was bathed in red and blue light. As if sunset and dawn had converged. In the midst of this contradictory scene, there were two people. Liz, wake up. Please. Franz was embracing Elisia, who had collapsed and was half lying. His fingertips caressing her cheek were painfully cold. Why would you choose this? Why would you neutralize the weak Mani? You might die if you did this. His fervent call gradually turned into a scream mixed with crying. A blue aura trembled from Franz's body. Kill me. Don't do this, kill me and be at peace. His fervent plea crept into Elisia's ears. She shook her head in his embrace. Then her body trembled. Cough. She coughed, and bright blood gushed out. Franz's eyes shook as he held her. No. He wiped her mouth while weeping. The sleeves of his white shirt were stained red. Please, stop. Franz took her ring-wearing hand. He violently tried to cover the mana stone that radiated a bright red light. Stop, please. Despite his pleading, the neutralization did not cease once he had begun it. No matter his efforts, the light did not fade. Rather, the light gradually grew stronger. As the red light spread through Elisia's body, Franz's face frowned. Please, Liz. Their gazes met in the dazzling light. Elisia smiled faintly as she looked at Franz. She was prepared for this pain. While she was neutralizing his mana, she was severing the bond between them. The pain felt like her body was being torn apart, but for the price of severing the bond, it was mild. It was light compared to the price of choosing love over hate. On the night of her revenge against the Empress, Elisia had reached a decision. She could not kill Franz. Because she loved him as much as she hated him. She could not kill him no matter what. But that did not mean she could remain by his side. Therefore, she chose to sever the bond between them. She would neutralize all of his mana so that Franz would never need it in the future, and then sever the bond. Then she would disappear to a place where she would never be seen again. That was Elisia's decision. In this way, Franz would also be freed from this bothersome bond. This was the most fitting conclusion for both of them. But Franz did not seem to think the same way. He kept Elisia's face in his hands, pain etched in his features, and said warmly, "You don't have to go this far to leave me. You don't have to go to this extent to keep me alive." Elisia narrowed her eyes. Her eyes trembled as she faced Franz. The more mana mixed and neutralized, the more difficult it became to concentrate. Just bear with it a little. Elisia bit her lip. Severing a connection causes pain akin to cutting off a connected limb. But why, instead of limbs, did her heart ache? The pain felt like her heart was being torn into pieces. The pain worsened as she saw Franz's tortured expression. Liz, please kill me and be at peace. Hot tears streamed down her cheek. Elisia swallowed. Just seeing his tears made her throat burn. Franz shed huge tears without stopping. He held the mana stone in her hand as if he were going to smash it and said, "I did not spend all my mana bringing you back to life for this." "What did you say?" Elisia moved her lips at Franz's words. There was something strange in his words. When she tried to point it out, Franz screamed again. I did not expend all my mana restoring you to life for this. Please. Elisia's eyes widened at his confession. All this time, Franz had not revealed how they had gotten back together. When Elisia asked him, he had been evasive. So, she had thought her curse had malfunctioned. But that was not the case. Franz was the one who had cast the spell, turning back time. Was it possible? Elisia looked at Franz, puzzled. She recalled that the sensation of mana surrounding her a moment ago had felt familiar. Elisia narrowed her eyebrows. This was not a coincidence. The feeling she had dismissed as trivial was actually from the memory of being rescued from the brink of death. But even if that were the case, there was something she could not understand. As far as Elisia knew, turning back time required an enormous price. The heart had to be offered as a mana sacrifice. However, the probability of success was low. It was suicide. Franz was a very cautious person. It was enough to see how he actively ignored her to protect her from becoming a target for Crichton. For someone like him to do something reckless, wagering with his heart? This did not suit him. Elisia looked at Franz, perplexed. As she regarded him, the red light that filled the room gradually began to fade. Elisia stared in amazement at the pool of light in the mana ring stone. She knew that Franz had loved her in her previous life. But she had not thought he loved her so much that he would sacrifice his heart to bring her back to life. Elisia held the ring with her other hand. The heat of the burning ring warmed her palm. She remembered Franz's request when he had placed this ring on her finger. Don't die, his sad smile, his warm kiss, and his whisper. Not in front of my eyes, nor in a place that I cannot see. How persistent had that request been? You could not measure it. Perhaps you had noticed it vaguely and ignored it. Because she had wanted to believe that Franz did not love her as much as she loved him, and that his love was merely a superficial emotion. Elisia wordlessly fiddled with the ring. When she remained silent, Franz spoke anxiously. If you attempt to neutralize again, I will cast the spell again. I will sacrifice my heart over and over again to bring you back to life and make you happy. Why? Elisia raised her head. She looked at him with clear eyes and asked him, why would you do such a thing? Elisia looked at Franz with sorrowful eyes. The light in the room was completely dimmed now. Why? Franz looked at her with bloodshot eyes. He spoke as if she were asking something obvious. What reason does a person need to make the one they love happy? Elisia's throat burned at his answer. As if she had been swallowed by a pit of fire. Elisia blinked quickly. Transparent drops clung to her eyelashes. Franz wiped her eyes with his fingertips and said, I love you, Lise. His confession, which he had suppressed in his heart many times, reached Elisia's heart. Her lips moved and then closed in a straight line. She did not know what to say. Her heart was hurting so much that she did not know what to say. While Elisia searched for words, Franz took her hand. Her hand was still holding the mana stone. Franz looked at her steadily. Then he said without hesitation, come on. Complete your revenge. Then rid yourself of everything and be happy. Elisia lowered her gaze. She stared at the mana stone. Franz helped her up. He helped her sit properly, then let out a deep sigh. He opened his mouth with a determined face. Thank you for letting me love you, and for being my soul connection. His words were like a commandment. Elisia raised her head with an expressionless face. She caught Franz's gaze, who was staring at her. A heavy silence fell between them. Elisia breathed lightly in the silence. Then she assumed a determined expression. She seemed to have made up her mind. Franz. At Elisia's call, Franz closed his eyes with a determined face. He raised his trembling lips to smile. But even though he waited, he felt no pain. The mana fire that Elisia was supposed to create did not ignite. Liz? When Franz opened his eyes slightly, weary, Elisia's lips touched his.